The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When the magi had departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Rise, take the child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until I tell you. Herod is going to search for the child to destroy him." Joseph rose and took the child and his mother by night and departed for Egypt. He stayed there until the death of Herod, that what the Lord had said through the prophet might be fulfilled. "Out of Egypt I called my son." When Herod realized that he had been deceived by the magi, he became curious. He ordered the massacre of all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinity, 2 years old and under, in accordance with the time he had ascertained from the magi. Then was fulfilled what had been said through Jeremiah the prophet. A voice was heard in Ramah, sobbing and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children, and she would not be consoled, since they were no more. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise you, Lord.
So at the center of the Gospel today, we have this connection with Rachel. So St. Matthew, in chapter 2, when it is reported, what happened to Joseph, Mary, and Jesus, that they needed to flee to Egypt. They needed to go in exile. So at that point, he puts here a connection with something that happens many centuries before. So Rachel. Rachel was the beloved wife of Jacob. Let us recall, the little story, very nice story. Jacob was the son of Isaac and Rebekah. Rebekah, the mother of Jacob, she had a brother, and this brother was Laban. So Jacob went to Laban, and there he met, his daughter, which was Rachel. And he got in love with this girl, and he proposed to Laban, I will work for you for free 7 years to have your daughter. And of course, Laban, he accepted. He was very pleased with it, right? But you know what he did, this guy? After 7 years, he said, "Okay, I will give you my daughter." But that night, instead of Rachel, he gave to Jacob Leah. The oldest. And so in the morning, Jacob realized, "So what did you do to me? I wanted to say Rachel, I wanted to marry Rachel." And Laban said, "No, here in this country, you first have to marry the older, and then you have the younger. So if you want the younger, you need to work 7 more years." Can you believe that? And Jacob, for the sake of love for Rachel, he did. Well, then, of course, after 14 years, he took all the sheep of Laban, he took them all. So he had a way to get back, what he did. But that is another story. So here the point is that Rachel was so loved, and at the beginning she was barren. But then she had first Joseph, So Leah and Rachel, they are the mothers of the 12 children of Jacob, which are the 12 tribes of Israel. So the two children of Rachel are first Joseph, and she has before Joseph, and then after so many years, she gives birth to Benjamin. But, the things went not well at all, and she died, while she was giving birth, to Benjamin. Tradition says that she decided, to have this child and to die for this child, So at that point, Jacob, in that area, there is the place where he buried Rachel. Why all this story is important? Because we need to understand why Matthew says, a voice is heard in Ramah. Why Ramah? Because Ramah is the place. Ramah is the place where Rachel cried, for her son, while she was dying. But not only Benjamin. Ramah is also the place, where many from Israel. Ramah is a town like 5 miles from Jerusalem. And it's very close to Bethlehem. And many people from Ramah, they were deported to exile in Babylon. And when they came back, they gathered in Ramah. So, before Matthew, it's the prophet Jeremiah. And so we read the passage of the prophet Jeremiah 31, that says, a voice was heard in Ramah, sobbing and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children, and she would not be consoled, since they were no more. This is Jeremiah, reported by Matthew. But Jeremiah is connecting the cry of Rachel, centuries before, with, the tragedy, of those children of Israel who went to exile. So it's already Jeremiah who is connecting Rachel, like the mother, of the children of Israel, and because they went to exile. Now Matthew is connecting Rachel to other children, to these children, the innocent martyrs. And also, Jesus himself is about to go to exile. There is one more mother that is connected to this story, which is the Virgin Mary. She is also weeping, for his child. Not only for his child, who is Jesus dying on the cross, but for all his children, that are in the exile of sin, in the exile of darkness. So all these mothers, they cry, but their cry is not desperation, not only desperation. There is also some hope and some salvation in their cry, in their pain. Why? Because this is what Jeremiah is promising. Rachel is crying, but the people of Israel, they will come back. This is the promise of that time. And Matthew is also giving a promise. Yes, Rachel is still crying, for his children, but, the Savior is coming. And also the cry of the Virgin Mary on the cross. She is crying, but salvation is done because Jesus died for us.